true or false, genetic therapies could be available for everyone, regardless of which form of CF or CF mutation they have. 80% have answered true, 7% have answered false to this question, and 13% have answered I don't know. So quite a remarkably high percentage have answered true to this question. So I wonder if Jamie, you might be able to comment on the answer to this question and elaborate a little bit.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Really interesting, because we look about what the sort of questions we get asked in clinic. So that's interesting. It reflects that really. So I guess there's a bit of confusion, I think, around the term genetic therapies. It's a bit of an umbrella term. And just to clarify that, it involves RNA therapies, gene editing, and gene transfer. And I know it's not a great analogy, but what we talk about in the clinic, if you imagine one of the famous sort of flat pack furniture brands that we all know, if you imagine that their sort of central office in the middle of the store, they've got a computer and it's got an instruction manual on how you make that, say, bedside cabinet. That's like your DNA there. And then you print it off, and we've all tried to follow the sort of instruction manual that comes with it, isn't it? That's like your mRNA, if you like, your messenger RNA. It tells you how to build that. And then if you think the bedside cabinet you're trying to make is like the protein. So for our people with CF, that protein is the channel, if you like, the chloride channel that lets chloride ions go in and out, essentially water moving in and out of the cell. And I think some of the confusion is around the new modulator therapies, so that people have heard of, either Kaftrio, Simkevi, or can be Kaftrio. They're not actually genetic therapies, so they don't change that blueprint on the computer or that, if you like, that printed out manual that you get with your bedside cabinet. But for about 90% of people with CF in the UK, they are eligible to receive these. And how they work is they try and, for these people, they make a protein, but it's not quite functioning properly. And what these medications do is to help the protein work better and be more of it, and at the cell surface to be more productive, if you like. And there's been some great results with that. But it's for those sort of maybe just less than 10% of people living with CF in the UK that are ineligible for those treatments. And that's because their blueprint in the office computer just doesn't really print out any useful information on that booklet. And so you can't really make your bedside table. There's nothing there being produced. And so these medications don't work for that group of people. And that's where all the excitement is about these gene therapies, because you've got a couple of options of what you could do with the gene therapies. So you could get into that central office in the flat pack furniture, and you could log on to the computer, and you could try and fix that code, if you like. And that's called gene editing. So there's some trials, I know we'll talk about it later, not in CF yet, but in some other rare diseases like sickle cell, there are some potential gene editing trials that have happened. The other thing you could do is to just upload a whole new blueprint. So this is gene transfer, and there are trials coming for that in people with CF, and we can talk about those coming through. I guess the other thing you could do is not break into the central office, but you could get that paper copy and you could change it slightly. So this is editing your mRNA or making changes to your mRNA, and there are trials of that coming. Or you could just provide a whole new booklet, a printed booklet. And again, there are trials of those mRNA changes coming. So in answer to the question, yes, the 80% of people are right. These therapies could eventually be for everybody, but where most of the interest is concentrated at the moment is for those people that have got no treatments available for them. And they may well use these genetic therapies in addition to the modulator drugs to improve the outcomes. But eventually these therapies could come and be available and useful for people with all different types of cystic fibrosis.